Dayata gade para swaha dayata gade para all so takanje semje tamje go tojalana ma cheba sanje gomarin boje jinja tobacha diche do anbe chanju semba labjan sishin na so lawale singol simol to tuji sho mano wa jigo an kasu baba de takanje kese chembo shiwala zebe junju go tena teshi tibi nyegi yesenza kubacha.
So we begin as normal by really setting a sincere motivation to do whatever we possibly can to attain that peerless state of enlightenment by perfecting all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. Of course, we need to know what they are, how to understand what to do, and we are only able to kind of guarantee that by relying upon an unmistaken text and unmistaken presentation. And with this in mind, we are here listening to a section of the Bodhisattva's way of life is composed by the great Bodhisattva Shantideva.
What? And the Danda de Tadam Yuna Shenchen, and Rangi Dungan Nankala, and the Tabjala to the Toba Shaja Tua set up, and it did more than the Lama Nova Toba Shaja Tua, and the Kula Chuga Mumu saw Shaji China. Yes, and in Yamshatan to second who's a number. What did it show you some such? And then they got sort of then they got sort of Dumbe Chivo, the Dumbe Kule, Chivo and Taba, Tuga Hole was a part of Mabatola Singla and Yeshiba Chantane, and Tuga Hola Tim, a Tuga Hola Takasa Yeshibate, Tomashajo to be Nabal Chantan Tim, and only Ochulama, Chilnebale, and a Mikio weekend digit. Then I was super color you, some subject.
And as usual, too, we set up our merit field prior to beginning. So in the space in front, we have the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha, who is a greatly compassionate, skilled in needs. It is, in fact, our own guru that we visualize, but in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha. He has one face, two hands, his right hand in the earth-touching mudra, the left hand holding an alms bowl filled with nectar. He is in the nature of pure, clear light. The crown is marked by an Om, the throat and and the heart center by a Hum. Light rays from that hung at the heart center emanate out, inviting all of the wisdom beings and empowering deities from their natural abodes. The wisdom beings dissolve into the figure. The empowering deities confer the nectar of empowerment, which overflows, and from that overflow spontaneously appears the figure of Akshobhya. We have the certainty that they are truly present there.
Also, and a range tagotoya, and a dincheve, and a range. That's it, ye pamane, cheve, and ye do la so, Taganija Pamela Simja, Taganija, and it rangi lego on get on a ranking around on a take you will make again. Tameve Tangarsu, dancing with a teacher. And the Tagan is a deadless, then a job, and type of my guess, Simja Tamja, George to Simja, Masa never use, and Jeda Taja, reduce us to doing Noshima, Namanga, Minashi Namju, you get, and don't beg a cushion to you in there, and the summer time to get. What did it and down it away, she get the one to get the Baloswata, Ranki Kadeshi, Debakadeshi. Give you what dinner since you shot too much, take that and what did it get? What did you
And similarly, as per usual, we visualize in the space all around us, all kind, mother, sentient beings, from our parents, relatives, close friends, those who we have a very good connection with, to those who are more or less neutral to us. And then through the particular karmic power, towards some, we have this sense of mutual dislike, kind of label them as enemy. And so here we see that they are representatives of all the 6 realms of existence, experiencing all the various sufferings related to those realms, but with the sensibility of a human being. So that accompanying that sensibility is a human intelligence. It's able to consider and analyze all the various qualities of enlightenment as they also observe the figure that we are visualizing. And from that appreciation comes the faith, the triple faith of pure faith, manifest faith, and the faith of conviction.
아니 저 로다 이제 덴베 연대 덴베 코네다 구송투기 연대 로다 구송투기 연대 덴베 코네네 다를 때 이제 문제 때 봐. 아니 심제 남자 동에 나출라 삼로다는 장다 고군의 총을 때와도 때에 봉바 미대가 동에 때는 동에 직설을 직 못하는 연대게 왔다 되듯이 어떻게든다 어떻게 나 동에 나출들었어. 동에 숨이 나출 동에 교회 잡아도 지가 동에 나 잡아도 지가 동에 나출 딜레 잡아지 맞잖아. 뒤 남자다 기부 타치와 연주 매바다 답에 땡겨와 디게지 요하면 타치와 이마연사 뒤 동에 나출을 삼었다네 엠베 셈띵네 동에 나와를 미스베 닝제 아니 대화도 텐도게 잡아 아니 대화 동네 교대 잡아자 돼야다 아니 대화 가서 됐다 그제 된대게 대화 교대 잡아지다 된대게 아니 가서 가서 돼 잡아 된대지 걔네 아니 된대게 아니 녀지기 있다 대화 탐자했다면 녀지기 동네 탐자했다면 녀지기 있어 다 지가 줘도 아니 다 심지어 탐자시나 심지어 지기가 된대지 대다 다 차상을 제마도 타치와로 타치와도 다들 술라도스라 안나랑게 되나 세트베 심제도 토들게 람람람 뭐봐서 와다 콘라도 다 콘게 고마지 마도 타면도 콘게 고마지 더 와이나 아니 계제레레야 기미뭐 미바 좋아지베 다들게 저가서다 연대 빠도 매바시도 진짜 뒤에 감다 매바 삼바 발라니와 지다 와시도 킹거 여바 인다 아니 심제가 돼 잡았다 뭐주바 마노와 거리 맞춰와 용거였죠. 이거 맞지 맞도 처음 뒤 맞추기 삼삼밖에.
And so that's from similarly as all sentient beings are capable of considering the qualities of Buddha's body, speech, and mind as we are. We see that also contemplating similarly the different sufferings, the suffering of change, and particularly all pervasive suffering. And so that an understanding arises that unless we gain, go beyond pervasive suffering, we cannot go beyond suffering itself. And so we deep down considering the kind of effects that these kinds of levels of suffering have on sentient beings, we develop this strong desire to freedom from that suffering, thereby generating that mind of compassion. And that also in terms of wanting to make that close connection with sentient beings in order to be able to benefit them, we consider deep down, reflect on the notion of affectionate love towards all sentient beings. And so through this kind of contemplation, we develop the deep desire how wonderful it would be for me to be able to free all beings from suffering and its causes, and to place all beings in happiness and its causes. And may that be the case, may I be able to do so. I will be determined to do so. We gain this sense of kind of exalted attitude towards being able to do that. And then, of course, it hits us. We reflect that in my personal capacity, I don't even have the capacity to do that for one sentient being. However, when I look around to see what qualities are necessary to be able to really efficiently work towards these goals, I realize it's the enlightened state. From that point of view, one has really developed all of the necessary qualities. And so we reflect on the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha in the space in front and understand that the Buddha has generated the mind of enlightenment and trained on the path to enlightenment and finally accomplished full and complete enlightenment. And then from that point of view, has the capacity to be able to see the karmas of sentient beings from moment to moment, what is occurring knowing the cause and effect, the relationship there, then kind of a diagnosis is always precise, and their treatment is always precise. It is complete, it is unmistaken, and it is administered in the right way, in the right order. And so this is the kind of state that we must try to achieve. So now that it is identified for us, we make sure that we must do whatever I possibly can to attain that state of enlightenment.
What did it say? Compassion, and what I did was commission, what I taking a lot of change in the Chinese chat, what I send you to do, and Tamaki Becoma to make it. Teach it, image into, and it did come by the church and the Takaja say, check what it is, and to the Bashaja Tuba, and commission mechanic, what to be a command to be a cheto. Simjet rang tagon you were Simjet Tamjak turn to, and to be a command to be a chet, to be a command to me, and Simjet that turned out Mahamad, Simjel to be cheto. Sanjay command, Ran Sanjay command to be it, because of top sheet, top jet. Top dilatina, Takarchegosana, Dung Mamati, and Simjak turn to be cheto. Taiba Magi Simjak turn to be cheto. And the Cheta, Junjula, and to some chicken, you saw what they're going to.
So then in refining our motivation to really listen to the import of the Bodhisattva's way of life, it's this way that we need to habituate to this notion of enlightenment more and more and more, and to kind of make sure that our motivation is precisely and solely for the benefit of sentient beings. And that we want to make sure that that is the case, that is to attain that state of enlightenment. And not for myself, but that is as a means to an end. And the end is to be solely focused on the benefit for other sentient beings, for all sentient beings, for countless sentient beings. And so this is something to kind of really refine our motivation prior to listening to some verses from this text.
Well, so what did it? That Kasim was covered.
Sokchang the Chukchu Ripdu and the Leo Sumbati.
Or the Lord Tijuraku.
Okay. Yongsu Songwagi.
Well, also. Oh, yeah. Well, Takaza get the Takaja. Because of the Takaja. Jaju Semi Payment that you get and it and the Taja Sem Kiavala, Takaja, what Casa de Takaja, Kiavalata, Ran the way she wanted to do, she Jaju Semchi, Selon Ketu Marin, Namnia Selon Chetuda, Chetumato, and Nasa Tipati the Shachen. And it's just a tip of Majo Tom Sem to catch a new bottom she on what it said. And that is Jets and that, Nula Masuna, Tama search how to Takaju Dinalata, Casora. Tinalola Takachi, Newton did so much Nalola Takachina, what that seems to Tamjaka to the Sanja Koma to Kuizo, that Chajuka Sim. Come, my Kibachi, on the PH to the Takaja, what he said to Takaja Liu, Nibati Delegato, Liu Nibati Delegato, what Takaja Rab and also couplet and a couplet, Kalasa in a tabu, couplet, some say. And the Kalaya was able to look at just what this solution. Takaja to dig Jaju Sanguinamle, Zachimoteta, the Kibache, sent to Kibache, and Kibaneta, Chupamanabachi, Chukura, what that is, what did it say? That Niba Kiawala Jesu Yaraso, to just also was a word to down the Esra, Jaju Simpson, word in Nishan. Liu Shung Sheva, Liu Che Sheva. Tambo the Jungle Jusum, Sumle, Tambo Joala Nachen. And Kiwala Chesu Yera, Chugi, Kolokoa Kua, Yangle Mitawa, so and Taba. And Kiawa Moa, and Chimbe Pajin Hamsul Dembe, Yala, Wando, Lulonju Jazaton, Samba Changata, Sambati Chang, Samba Changa, watching what it is Nachen. That Butela Takajam Kiwala Jesu, 개월에 제소라 당보다 개월에 제소 예원 이라고 될 숨치는 뭐도 균제 개월에 제소로 타바sam게 균제 개월에 제소로 라나메 장주게에서 장주게 균제라 다 제소 이라고 하잖아 어떤 subject 숨치 어떤
And so we arrive now at the beginning of a chapter dealing with like the full acceptance of the awakening mind, as well as the kind of a protection or guarding of that awakening mind. This follows from the beginning of the text, where we looked at the benefits of the awakening mind, and that was followed by confession and purification of our negativities. And so in this way, these were really a kind of like a preparation for this particular chapter. And so here it's particularly with the kind of gaining that appreciation of what we need to generate, and then recognizing the importance of, as it were, purifying our kind of a basis through the advice of the second chapter in the context of the four opponent powers, where we both confess and purify, and then also promise to avoid these particular negativities again in the future. And all of this again is comparing to like your dishes. You wash your dishes very carefully, and so that it become a suitable receptacle then on which you can place your delicious food. And so here's the same way. We are creating ourselves as a clean receptacle for the actual advice on practicing or generating the mind of enlightenment now. So this is then begins with this looking at how we rejoice in virtue and other conducive conditions, and being able to kind of accumulate those conducive conditions for ourselves, so that we can then fully accept and the mind of enlightenment itself and practice accordingly. So this is dealt with explaining the content of this chapter, and following that at the end explaining the name of this chapter. The first of these has three sections: the preliminaries, the actual practice, and then the conclusion. With regard to the preliminaries, there are 5 sections. One is rejoicing in a virtue. 2, urging for the wheel of Dharma to be turned. 3, entreating the Buddhas not to enter into parinirvana. 4, dedicating virtue. 5, setting our mind to be able to give our body, our possessions, and the roots of virtue as the kind of branch practices of the perfection of generosity. And so then with regard to the first, that was rejoicing in virtue, it itself has 3 subsections. The first of these in rejoicing in the cause and effect virtue leading to fortunate rebirths. The second is rejoicing in the cause and effect virtue of attaining mere liberation. And the third is rejoicing in the cause and effect of virtue of attaining peerless enlightenment.
ana lala mi cha chu ge chunde ge wala chesu yira wa cha ta ta bo ngo tu chunde ge wala chesu yira de ta zawale semje ku ge nya so ge do nge su ge wa ta do nge chen da de na la ga wi chesu yira mo.
And so we begin then with verse number 1, which covers that first subheading of rejoicing in the cause and effect virtue that leads to fortunate rebirth. Gladly do I rejoice in the virtue that relieves the misery of all those in unfortunate states, and that places those with suffering in happiness.
다 간자제 가라도 저기 가서데 랑 sembi shawang tu sem nyomo be shawang du chune ane samju de leju peche kaso de mige wa kyanya chola dro de ane ngara zu ta chi du manga de nyasol kete wa ta ko nyasol kete ko chi kaso de ta juda debi jodang ge tonne ta mige wa manga saba ne mige wa kesa ge ne nyasol ne chato wa denza wa de ta kanje de 이래야 딱 까브리 즉 가소래 데데게 가소래 저기 땡그 top 데데게 땡 아니 거기 가소래 원투고 겨월레게 그때되게 아니 툭투에게 누바슉 체드를 치네 아니 데데게 딱 원투 줄랑이야 봐도 수좀 쏘아 디 나는 속주 방에 수좀 마송아 임바이나 먼저 그 게투고 요 말, 먼저 고마 툭두고 요 말이다. 어다 되는 인사, 다 거기 되는 임바 인도 다 간자 지금 되는게 수준 송 두에게 딱 누바질래. 아니 되는잖아. 되는 수준 송할 때네. 아니 먼저 고마 토보고도 와. 먼저 고마 토보고도 되는서 코안네베 심정 군제 년송의 동에 녀소셔다. 다지 모두는 년송의 동에 녀한테 딱 녀소 잡이야 소라치. 뒤주 통동질라. 예수 잡여 뒤주 소라지다 간자제 가서다 지금 된대그 뒤주 소리 소시 년송의 동에 되네 내가 우리 년송의 동에 녀모고 지 예수 잡여 소시 예소시 아니 뭐도 때 개발자 토바 집에 뭐도 때 토바다 아니 뭐도 게 디나네 아니 최주배 뭐도 때다 뭐도 때 개발자 토바 집에 아니 교대 다 개와 추진 다 미게 주본 거 수준 디나네 다 그냥 속주 방에 수준이 개와탕 이들와 다디 수준 사 아니 가서 다들 가서 제다 그냥 수준 사 수준 디다 그냥 수준 디 가서 송네 다들 수준 송토에 용할래 뭔가를 요구라 남자 수준 송토에 용하 말이다 지 무튼이 녀송을 깨 되게 해서 안테네 당보 딱 거서를 땡게 톱소라다 땡게 온게 갈리 chen 아니 땡게 절다 수준 손토에 류데 지 땡네 수준 딜레 다 퓨다 손토에 딜레 퓨다 손도 지기 파 누가 야야 chen 요데 아니 뭐도 가서 뭐도 때 개발자 토발다 다 수준 퓨다 보지 마소나 요에메 맞아 땡게 다 규도 토바지 규에 개와도 다디 제부 사다 디 제부 동에 젠다 모두 대원내 발라 로가위에서 대원내 발라 로가위 안 대원 대다부 요바 신도래 냠도 제소 이런 거 셔봐오죠 그래 다 간제 지금 된대게 모두 대와 딱 모두 대와스도 대와 군에데 최주발에 대와스 근데 고고도 와 좋아다 가제 모두 되네 모두는 모두 된 죽투에 안디 원도 된데 타베고 고마 죽투에 디야 탐제 개별 고마를 줘투에 된데 유튜브에 대화 대다고 요바 신도래 냠도 제수 이런 거 셔보죠 그리고 시대소를 찾기도 와 그래서 원도 고마 된데 때문에 타바 줍나면다 시 타바 죽투에 그럼 요 말을 봐 원도 고마 된데 때문에 아니 모두도 원도 고마를 가서 원도 고마를 추좀 내셔면서 수좀 마소 타면도 와 다 타베 고마 토발라네 네바도 아니 추정 시대 전에 아니 땡해지다 싫어걸 라발라고도 다 탐제 잡발라네 디 땡라 라바송게 땡라 아니 장주성의 냠내전을 조고도 장주성의 제소 파제 주고 냠내전 조고도 진짜다 뭐도 그때인데 다 같이 지금 사시 소로저래도 로도 탐제 중에게다 중사게 디 사시 임바 인자 진나시게다 연대 탐제가 중성이다 땡게 나네 딱 먼저 때 가서다 시대 소리도 사시 소리도 개점으로도 된대가 연대 시배 권에다 제수 일하고 제 셔보죠
So here is explained as for those residing in cyclic existence and for all the sentient beings there to be able to have a break, as it were, relief from suffering and the suffering of the lower realms, and to be able to attain the particular state of higher rebirth. For all the causes that lead to such a state, I rejoice. And the that kind of results too, for being able to attain that particular result of a higher rebirth, the happiness there, I gladly rejoice in all that virtue. So it's interesting in this particular verse what is emphasized. So it's talking about us, we who are more or less dominated by karma and the mental afflictions, and so that we have this propensity for falling into non-virtue continuously. And so here we know that the cause and effect of that such non-virtue is definitely a rebirth in the lower realms. And so here we have to go according to the law of cause and effect. It's not a choice we have. So we have to be aware of that. So that if we engage in non-virtue, that is the suffering results that is ahead of us. So here it's pointing out that, nevertheless, that from time to time, we may ourselves, maybe due to the power of the basis, accumulate some virtue, and virtue that might be able to gather to lead to a fortunate rebirth. But mainly it's down to our ethical conduct and how important it is that we're able to accumulate pure ethical conduct that causes. So this is the main cause for rebirth again in the high rebirth or a fortunate rebirth. And so this certainly has to include turning away from killing of any kind. And that here, this therefore, if we are able to accumulate enough karma based on ethical conduct, it may lead for us, it will lead to us to a fortunate rebirth. But as the verse says here, it's kind of like pointing out that this relief from the lower realms is only that. It's a kind of a break from the lower realms, indicating that over eons, it's likely that we spend most of our time in the lower realms. And so here, it's not only pointing to this as a remarkable opportunity for us, but also it should be seen as the basis or the foundation upon which we can build our Dharma practice and therefore proceed along the path. So it's kind of like once we attain this rebirth due to the karma of following good ethical conduct, particularly avoiding killing and maybe accumulating karma based on the power of the basis, then slowly we improve our behavior, improve the kind of karmas that we're laying down, leading to this happiness. And so here the verse also points out that I rejoice in those who are free from the unfortunate states, and that places those with suffering in happiness. So this happiness of fortunate rebirth is referring to the happiness that comes from Dharma practice, and so that we have a new appreciation of what it means to practice. And what are we practicing for? We're practicing for the attainment of liberation, and further from that, the attainment of full and complete enlightenment. So we're looking at this fortunate rebirth as a foundation, and that should be why we have appreciation for this break from the lower realms, that we can build on this foundation so that we generate the causes for a fortunate rebirth through ethical conduct and so on. And then we refine our practice to concentrate on the ethical conduct that we have, supplementing that with meditative concentration and wisdom, the three higher trainings that can lead to this state of liberation. And then the basis of that, we use that as the foundation then to generate the mind of enlightenment and supplement that with the perfection, the practice of the 6 perfections, leading to the state of a peerless enlightenment. And so here we are looking at then something like a blueprint for our practice, that it's not just a break from the lower realms that we are rejoicing in, but we're rejoicing in the new opportunity to build on the foundation towards enlightenment itself.
어디로도 다 디인도 된데게 다 지금 내가 그래도 예수고 동에 놈고 예수 서로게 태 예수 뒤주 서로자 라에게 된데게 가서도 다그 뭐티고 류텐티 뭐티고 류텐티 다 지금 가서라 세디 디기 잠라 인데 당샤와이나 아니 뭐네 다 예수 제 아니 되네 사도 양기 예수 줘야다 좋아 그저 내가 내는 예수 때문에 또 다 예수 마 자서야 내가 고속으로 와 대디소를 차주고 와 다디 국업도 심잖아 다다 예수 소로게 뒤뒤 된데 국업 중앙디 오 다디 된데데 삽사저 맞게 왔는데 예수를 안 차디 그래 아니 가자서 양쪽 예수를 줘야 차를 뺏어버려 다다 이제 미일리된 탑대도 미일리될 미 남주 주요래 미 남주의 남주 로가 배주 마다제 남주의 연다 좀 배주 따네 뭐 여기 내주 시바제네 아니 거 땡기 뛰기를 두투바 제투바이나 다 아니 미일리된 토바다 고쳐버려 아니 소설리된 근데 된적을리된 지금 차버 미일리된 사마래 된적을리된 지금 차버려 된적을리된 지금 차버다 좋아 차버 다들 소설한 게 다 같이 저 도나제제다 다 같이 남주 배주 땅에 다 소고지를 다 되게 건가 아니 되네 다 같이 렌투바제 뒤제도 되는 문에 전에 예수이랑 제 초계시 다 되게 내가 부른 게 미일리데 라바디 아니 디 소소 맞아 제제네 아니 땡기 되게 툭투에게 고갑지라기도 와다제 가서나 가서네当我那做三了，他刚才都是忙不给他们这没给不这这个有的，原来也三了也不是当了，考试呢考完以后东来的，考了给差不多了，那个东来个东西就了难掉的，但是考完以后东来的，那样，我他现在东来的了，的呢严重给图有的，这个三这个缺给，那就到新买呢，三这个缺给两天的说是到산재가 최게 안에 따와도 줘봐 소설 높좀 또 제투이나 안에 딜라테네 안에 동에 딜라테네 연중 개투래 동에 딜라테네 장주가 셈 개투고 요래 그러 당 동에 딜라테네 안에 때도 디기게 주축투고 요래 다 디가 그가 거저 디가 그 제투에 가서 미 남주 된데 지어다 제투고도 미 남주 된데 지면아 안에 디가 제투고 말봐 산재가 송 짜치고 가서 요바이나 소소 배주 땅도 요 말아 배주 땅도에도 소소라 미 남주주 요바자 아니 산제가 송답 되겠지 아니 가서도 다 뭐이고 내주다 투바지 아니 지 대화 주비에다 동네에다 땡기 여서 아니 디니가 차초한테 아니 땡기 되게 좀 두고 요바 아니 디자 미 류데 요바 딜레테네 용도고 또 아니 디자 미 린데 류데 사치고 임바 뭐 주에 계속 버려도 아니 소소로 요바도 뭐 줘봐지 오 나를 문에 다내게 땡기 되게 주비에게 아니 된적을 된스기도 진짜 배주 다 만원 왔던 거도 삼삼전 아니 저는 아니 미지 가서 된다 된바다 미지 님불 렌투와 정도도
So to understand that, two aspects to this fortunate rebirth of taking on the body of a human is that it is a break from a relief from the lower realms, but also it is a great opportunity for us. Kind of really calling out to say, look, you have this amazing opportunity. You must try and make the most of it. Whereas if we don't, if we kind of like really just kind of go, oh, I'm kind of like limited to becoming absorbed in the so-called happiness of this life. And if that's the emphasis of your life, then you're really just laying down the causes to really immediately return back to the lower realms and lose that obviously great opportunity for us for practice. And so it's kind of very, very important that we are not careless about this opportunity that we have, but to and not return to the lower realms, which would be an absolutely disaster. So here it's a case of seizing the day, of kind of going, oh, you know, this is really an incredible opportunity for me, and that, you know, don't forget that, you know, we have this referred to precious human rebirth of the leisures and endowments, these conducive qualities that assist our practice, especially that human intelligence, where we're able to really distinguish between what is helpful and not helpful. And so that's very, very important to be able to kind of understand that. And so therefore, we must be extremely conscientious about misusing or abusing this human intelligence, because that's not what it's for. It's able to, it's kind of, that intelligence should be able to recognize through the teachings of the Buddha, through the behaviors as recommended in the Buddha's advice, to build on this opportunity that we have to be able to further our spiritual career, as it were, and not to throw away this opportunity. And so to understand, for example, that to attain this precious human basis is the foundation upon which our real happiness begins. And that therefore we practice accordingly and rejoice in having these freedoms and endowments to be able to assist our practices and to kind of like not talk about being so unhappy or frustrated with our lives or whatever incidents are occurring in our lives, that we can see actually that, you know, this is present wherever we are in cyclic existence. You know, the cyclic of existence is in the nature of suffering. And so we shouldn't pay too much attention to that and not allowing ourselves to be kind of like dominated by that kind of suffering, but rather with that human intelligence to see through that suffering, to cultivate renunciation, a very, very important quality for us to generate in this particular context. And so this is very important. And on the basis of that, then whatever knowledge we gain from Buddhism and the hearing about the mind of enlightenment, etc., the notion of true stable happiness, to see that I am born as a human being with these advantages, with this human intelligence. I have to be able to use that to its maximum, to its fullest, to lay down the causes for in liberation and the fearless state of enlightenment itself. And I cannot, you know, misuse this intelligence. This would be a disastrous, kind of really reprehensible choice to make, having kind of thrown away something that is such a great opportunity. And that, you know, we need to be constantly informing ourselves as to what is the actual situation, you know, what is the true interpretation of my situation, more and more and more, building up that analytical capacity, and then realizing that this human life that I have now is truly precious. You know, it's priceless, and that recognizing that and recognizing that is it's the basis for any kind of improvement you're on in, and therefore gain this determination to extract the essence of this precious human life.
churchbe tunjel beju da taba da tamje kibe jul beju da to what is commercial da kasu baba de zo de da ga je de de 원주 고마 통과돼 아니 그 개발할 때는 연구 여봐서 아니 내가 그 동에 녀 먹어야지 차바 딜어야 아니 가서 다 같이 제수이랑 제수고 여러 다 가서 제수이랑 제와이나 아니 되게 그 줄을抓피게 요래 아니 라라 아니야 제수이랑 제발 때는 개와사기 요래 다 초사기 요봐 저 다다 조소에도 초사에 된다 아니 신기 개발을 제수이랑 제수고 여러 다 좋아 가서 다들 가서 토리 개발해서 제수 일하지 아니 탑에 개발을 제수 일하지 좋아 다 같이 저 좋아 다 가서 라는 자주 개발을 제수 일하지 다 같이 제수 일하잖아 초사 뒤자 초사에 제도 수고를 제수 일하지 아니 가서 다 가서 개발 뒤주 통동 제 조선 매버도는 개발 납치 뭐지 좀 두고 요자 제수 일하도 수고 요라 보다 또나 마음에 되게 이나야 다 소소 류대데 타와데 류대데 뭐 쳐봤잖아 그러다 제수 연합지들이 개점부 좀 통고 열어 봐. 가리 개점부 딜할 때는 타바 탐지게만 두고 열어 봐. 데려와다. 들어와다 디저다 왔다 디저다 아니 소수그때 아니 제니불 연토가 제도 왔다 개점부로 왔다 다 소 아마 소에데 시코랑 도나 제와이나 또 다지 제티.
So, in particular, we need to really fully recognize the great opportunity that we have, not just having a human rebirth, but having a precious human rebirth, and that be absolutely determined to take the essence of that opportunity and to see it, not so much just in the context of human existence, but rather as the basis upon which we can attain liberation, the basis which we can become closer and closer to the state of full and complete enlightenment, and to also understand that we have this break from or relief from experiencing such debilitating suffering that wouldn't allow us to be able to think in this way. And so it's kind of like we have that break, we're not experiencing that kind of suffering, and therefore rejoice in that also, and rejoice in our own virtue, to see the act of rejoicing itself as a very, very key practice. And we should seek to, as it were, accumulate the merits of just rejoicing itself, something that can be done in a short time without any cost. It's a very convenient practice for us to do, and so to really see the great value of that itself, and to understand that this human rebirth gives us all this choice to practice that we might not have otherwise, the choice to aim for the state of liberation, the state of enlightenment itself.
니가 타바삼지에서 준대기 개발에 제소이라고네 자발에 자주 주주 개사바 될라 제소이라고 류제 코에 동에래 네바 타바이라고
The second of the subheadings above was the rejoicing in the cause and effect virtue of attaining mere liberation itself. And verse number 2, I rejoice in that gathering of virtue that is the cause for the Arhat's awakening. I rejoice in the definite freedom of embodied creatures from the miseries of cyclic existence.
Rota niente da range che sa chanju chuju ro niente che ta chomba da range ta chobe kyurkyue ne ke we tsawa ta ro ta ka che ko le nge ba chu nyen jong ke ne ani ka so de ta ka che ta chi ka so de nyen jong ke ne ani de ke toni to be shira ke ne ani de tinga chi nyambar sha ne 아니 저 가서 다 저기 솔람 콜라 밀로람chen 다 람가 리바시도 되네 어저다 저 그냥에 지게 돼 규규에 개와 간사바텔라 소와 자주 다 얘라게 자주 코나도 규규에 개와 간사바텔라 텔라 양사 사바타베 셈 띵네 다 되게 연대 통에 그러다 개와 된데 좀 맞주가 있나 그러 로 코에 자와 다지 머리베 녀보 담에 도베 셔럽 마케바이나 코알레 타투 바르와 모든 코알레 되고로 아니 디야 담에 도베 셔럽디에 셔바sam게 팽모도 디 땡게 징게 쪼다 제베 또네 이런 것음도 똑같이고 데레지 용알레 수dim 넘버 따고지면 용고 요바리 아니 수dim 시수 네 아니 지금 땡게 징게 쪼아제네 돈이 도베 셔럽고네 다까지 지금 저는 다까지 겁네 다까지 지금 겁네 다까지 지금 디야 아니 지고서 윤통도 좀 말해 교름 왜 봐도 다 냠내 쟤네 안탈 가서다 다까지 네 가서 네라기 밀로벨람 토바 지고요 봐 어때 내가 또 탐제라 제소 일하고 디 제부 데 람데다 게 다규데다터 아니 디 제부 장주 딱 장주 코에 동에 랑예벌 타내서 코에 동에 녀버 타네 아니 장주 토바텔라 제소 일하고 다들 규데데 좀 마노와 마투바 아니 고림 마초와 데레시 라바텔라테네 아니 다 제소 다 가서 된데 아니 대다게 상라 소소가 자주 토바텔라야 제소 일하고 오셔봐 오참
So this verse is rejoicing in the virtues of those on the here path to enlightenment and the solitary realizer path to enlightenment, saying that all of the causes that they have accumulated to achieve a particular level of enlightenment are on their path, namely that they are able to develop that state of enlightenment, the state of an arhat, the hearer arhat, the solitary realizer arhat, and that this is based on, again, refining the level of ethical conduct that we had begun at the fortunate rebirth level. And then on top of that, to develop this meditative concentration, to be able to really penetrate the wisdom of emptiness, and so to develop a realization of emptiness. So this is the basis of their path, and that we, are able to perceive this ourselves, that that's such a really worthy being to rejoice in, that they have attained it, gone through the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing upon the direct realization of emptiness that they have attained. And this is no kind of short-term goal. This is a very long-term level of dedicated practice that they have engaged in. And so this should define the intensity of rejoicing that we can do in their attainments. And that this is something that we can aim for as well, that they have attained the path of no more learning for a hearer or a solitary realizer practitioner. And they have engaged in a complete path to attain the level of their enlightenment, a non-mistaken path, and a path that is approached within the right order. So all of this is something that we can inform our kind of level of rejoicing in what they do, what they have done.
어디로다 다가제 제다 대게 그래서 뭐주 지라이 바르와다 뭐도 될라테네 아니 지게 지가서도 뭐도 될라테네 무투는 뭐도 주에 교사도고도 아니 될라테네 아니 그 타바주도고도 될라테네 탐제 점바 주부도고도 근데 임바인자 아니 뭐도 됐다 셔다미다 아니 뭐도 겨와라 제수이나 제주고도 다 되나시 타바다다 녀랑 타바디에 타바될라테네 아니 코에 동에 싸워는 방어지 코에 동에 뭐 주고도 뒤 싸워 다지 머리고 뭐 주고도 뒤에 뭐 다음에 또 비셔로 컴투고도 아니 다음에 또 비셔라고 뒤에 아니 가서 땡에 징게抓的 chen 컴투고도 아니 뒤에 시대 가서도 시대 아니 추중 걸 라바 실라샤베 토네 아니 추전 라바 시전 아니 땡에서 라베抓chen 등가서도 아니 가서도 실라 라베抓chen 땡에 징게다 겁니 다 간제 저기 타버 두고도다 뒤바자 왔다 되게 람람긴 다 람기 규티게다 아니 람디발레 람디서 람디다 람디라테 저부디 토발레 아니 거기 좀 제시베 콜레 제수 일하잖아 다 제수 일하는데 겨 빠도 매고 좀 그러와 좋아 되는자 좋아 다 간제 제수 일하게 빼나 도다 되지 나로라 제수 일하는데 빼게 올랍지 뭐 요거 빼나 개부 세계게 산제 아니 코다 잡아 젠다니 젠다네 아니 배 아니 가서대다 추바 빠도 매버 퓨네 퓨제 아니 뭐 개고 가야 매게 지금 아니 배 제수 일하체 개와디 제수 일하체 모델의 슈차 중에서 되게 아니 송교조 받으시 뭐 로아다 뭐디 가요 말이야 근데 다 개고 세제 코나서부터 산제 세다 잡아 젠단 배 랍좀 사서 다 아니 가와 겁니 제수 일하체도 아니 개와디 뭐디 슈차 사티에 개보 세계 조선의 시우다 겨와디 어디 죽죠 개조에 대한 루규 요반데 시제 뭐다들 그래도 가서 당가제 저 가서 어디를
So to develop this sense of understanding of who and what we are rejoicing in is an important distinction. And so to inform ourselves as to the great qualities of those aiming for liberation and so on is very important in this context. So that, that kind of having this intelligence of the human in this higher rebirth category is very important, that we can sustain this kind of understanding and therefore the practice coming from that with great consistency. And kind of constantly informing ourselves as to the kind of subtlety of the virtues accumulated by those on the path to liberation. And that in return increases the potency and power of our virtue coming from rejoicing in those very virtues. So that those on the path to liberation must recognize the root cause of cyclic existence, apply the antidote to that, the wisdom realizing emptiness, and to realize that. And they can only kind of realize that on the basis of having developed the higher training of meditative concentration. That meditative concentration in turn relies on the developing of the higher training of ethical conduct. So that again, that basis of ethical conduct facilitates our concentration, which facilitates our being able to penetrate through to the true meaning of reality. And that is the basic path of those on that path to liberation, the hearer and solitary realizer beings. So it's very important that we kind of understand those pathways, and that the results of those pathways, the practices pertaining to those pathways. So because the more understanding we have of that, the greater the virtue we gain from being able to rejoice in those who are successful on those paths. So it's kind of like there are accounts in the teachings describing how a very powerful, rich king can make incredible offerings to the Buddhas and so much, very extensively. And then somebody in that company who's got nothing is able to simply rejoice in that virtue, and therefore gain more virtue than the king gained from offering everything. Obviously at great expense to the king and great effort. But the person was just at nothing, was sitting there and made such a comprehensive and informed rejoicing, is able to attain more virtue.
rabda chaba rwada to jikden kam tongsu ga jikden kam dige ane che she tu go res ane rida ane jikden dige ga ane che ga ze she tu go res ine jesu ira chaba de ane che gegza la che yo ma res che o che dige ze yo res she ma tu ba chi ba jesu ira gegza de ba shi mo lab chi bu yo ri chi 안 dia 소수 jesu ira je de ba mo ne da ne ne zui cha zang shi me to ne jesu ira de le ni ba cha yo ba 딜레 누바차 이거 왔다가 되게 지금까지 연대된 쉐베 턴에 아니 제소라 저번다 개월 납치 뭐 쉬우지 왔다 개월에 디게스 요다 세메 되겠지 지다 지된 게저 숙제를 채요 봐 되게 세 디게스였어 아니 개월들 안 세메도 세바도 내 맞지 타예 맞지 되겠지 왔다 들으시도 아니 디가 알아서 다 소소가 삼로 땅마당 개발지도 삼로 땅 하나 거기 제마도 그게 말와 딜라 지금 로치 중에 계좌면도 아니 지금 가서래다 가자 지금 톱 중에 계좌면도 수고 탕보다 대고 계좌면도 제수에는 다 소소 삼로 땅의 수인의 제토에지래도 그 변조 유미 계좌 요말에 그 수인의 제토에지래도 다 삼로 땅이나 뭐다 삼로 땅 맛이 봐 땅신 맛인 게 개발지래만 또 뒤에서 관계 제토에디 아니 소소 하고 받지는 제토가 제바 있나 아니 제수는 그 뒤에 계좌지래도
Repeat it again, session.
Session 더 뒤봐. 더 뒤봐서는 또 가서 뒤봐서는 가서 더 뒤봐.
So yes, there's also this account in the Compendium of Sutras text where it talks about the 3,000 world systems that within there, if one makes a kind of on the one hand, one makes an offering of all the wealth and the
말해 뒤바다 다 직된 감 되게 가서래 다 감숨 직된 되게다 아니 리다 되게 그 세샤도 최종 되게 여러 세 매지면 셰도 그랬어 숙쟁 오버디가 매지면 셰도 그랬어 이내 제수이랑 개와들 세요 말했어.
So talking about yes that when we talk about the 3,000 world systems, we're talking about a physical limit in that, and so kind of like whereas when it comes to rejoicing, there is no limit of the virtue that can be accumulated if one is able to rejoice with that level of understanding and earnestness. So it's kind of like pointing out again that this is a practice that it doesn't depend on how powerful you are, how wealthy you are, how much influence you have. It's really saying that it's a basis of how you think, how you motivate. And so therefore, it's something that not only that we can all do, but we can all do at any time. So this is something that can be taken into account as well when taking on the practice of rejoicing.
What is it? Suba lana mebe as a chanchuga table la yera was a lana mebe chanchuga and a kudella yera was chanchu topic. And it did table chanchula yera one is tawale, Joban namji chanchuta, Geshe sala yera wo. Semja tanja desebe, and tuje jewa jachuta, Semja pemba sevala, Gewecheso yera was, Gawecheso yera watch our teacher.
And then the third subheading on to that heading of rejoicing in virtue is rejoicing in the cause and effect of virtue that leads to peerless enlightenment. And the root text here looks at verses 3 and 4. It says, I rejoice in the awakening of the Buddhas and also in the spiritual levels of their children. And with gladness I rejoice in the ocean of virtue from developing an awakening mind that wishes all beings to be happy, as well as in the deeds that bring them benefit.
What is it? Joba lana meba, Sanje Namji, Zobe Changchuta, Zobe, and a Changchuta. And Geshe Changchu Sembe Sachu, Rota Geshe Changchu Sembe, and Rota Kajaji Kosura Takaja Kosura two Gene, and Chanju Sem Gene, and Chikasoda Takajachi, Chiso Pachen to the doing Bobishila Subalabeki Rota, Sachuta. Geshe Jaju Sembe Sachu La, and Iran was that rather. Sachula, Iran was that Sachula, Iran was a Takaji, the Kasura Takaji, Takaji, Jesopachi to Yamlechi, right? Nyalechi la Soma, Tagadi, Solam, Jolam, Tolam, La Sobia Takaja, Lam Tigera, Lamneta, Lam Tigeti, Casata, Lamne Takaji. Takaji got the Chesopachi that do a mobile lapid what he did, and the Labia and Lamne, and the company by Sachu Tela in Irachi, you see Irango. And the same jet Tamjet, there were Zebe Chedo, Jaju Chodo, two Jamata, the Labia Chedo, and near two give or two give a give, two give, and then they two give a like your tire much. Said there were Jasutabo. And Joya Simjela Pember Samata, Joya and Simjema, you remember me but to watch in the Pember Sebe, and he gets a cheval Laya, Gavi Chesu Yiran was that, Gavi Chesu Yiran was.
So this is explained in terms of the the peerless protection of that state of full and complete enlightenment, the generation of that mind of enlightenment itself, and the children of the conqueror, those who have attained the state of a bodhisattva on the 10th ground. Here I rejoice in the virtues of those beings. So here it's kind of like looking at those who have, say, the bodhisattvas on the 10th ground, those who have gone through the perfected the 6 perfections, the 4 ways of accumulating disciples, proceeded through the paths of accumulation, preparation, path of seeing, etc. And again, understanding the context of what all that is, that we can rejoice in their virtues. The Buddhas who working for sentient beings to provide happiness to all sentient beings, that supreme enlightenment of generating that mind of enlightenment, training on the path, and then bringing fruition to that training to attain that state of enlightenment through particularly the ocean of virtue that can arise from working with the mind of enlightenment itself, and then putting that into practice in every way, working for the benefit of sentient beings. So looking through all the activities of the children of the conquerors in being able to do that. All of this I rejoice in gladly.
What it was to do that didn't Narazu Jesu Yara, they give a lap to Sagi Yore, and Jesu Yara the Kotu in a Samotaya Google store. What is it? Takaji Rapena was meeting Sutonga in by name meeting. Want to Lieutenant Tabjara, want to Lieutenant Sujum Leshames, Sujum Swallet in a tower, and a delicate Jesu Yarache. Jesu Yarachen, oh, they want to Niasonga to Nyon Body, want to combine top day or reason, and the Tobati, and want to combine to Sujum Swallet and your Slamda, watch over Jen, and tell Jesu Yarache. No good one. Tani Yaran to get it, Yaran resum, oh, this Yaran resum, Yaran to get it, and Lam Lavasum Lava Latene. And a Tobaris, and a theater, and a Jesu Yarachi. And a Sanja that judges all the Sanja judges somebody else shares some my budget to get it, Lamla Lata to get a Samotane, 2 Makiba Kibaja, Kene, and a Jesu pageant to Namela Sobatene, and it is a judge Sebe Jovala Lagu Yoras and Jesu Yarachi. Sanja Dezo and the Kajan Tamil Sumla Sobatenege, and a 2 year Lam Mobats over Sanja, and a Jesu Yarachi. Yogurwa. What are those and got you in it? But I was a shopping center, so Chivaina, and a meat drama, not so much to a thing. Want to combat up there. And just we are oh, want to combat over, yes. The and the children so well then the joy, some sort what did it? Some tantuna and Koji. Because of Kubata, Chiyogutwa. And a round want to combat it, round like by your ways, and they want to combat Trolamoto, get you water. What did they say? What did they say? And how to do that? Ticket the Shunama song ticket. What I get you that how to do a check out of the round the Jawaya will make it. Round the Jawasha will make it, and the Yaga Chesona Kawash, the what you lieutenant 토발라 제수 이란지 아니 다가네 제 디게어 주바다 디 펜바 쪽서나 아니 제수 이란지 디 개치분이 바래 어디 디도 가보도 와 가보래 다디자 딜라 배제 제바이나 아니 딜라 때는 랑게 차도다 세단다 나게게디 가고도 와 아니 딜라 때는 디 가수나 아니 된데 나게 세단 차로 레니바 사이드 요거 말아 봐 캡사를 봐 아니 제수 이란 딜라 때는 개와사기도 와
So therefore, to really kind of like solidify this practice of rejoicing as a wonderful opportunity for us to accumulate a virtue and to be able to kind of like use it in every opportunity. We meet somebody we know, obviously they're also enjoying to whatever extent they can a higher rebirth. And so that has taken a good ethical conduct to reach that state. Therefore, we already have a good reason for rejoicing in their virtue and to take that opportunity whenever we come across somebody like that. And so, and then they're not in a lower rebirth. They have attained this this attainment. So it's kind of worth rejoicing there for them. We rejoice in again, those who are on the hearer level, beings who are on the solitary realizer level, they are engaging in the three higher trainings towards the state of liberation. Therefore, that's worth rejoicing in that state. And of course, we need not mention those who have generated the mind of enlightenment on the path to a full and complete enlightenment, those bodhisattvas. That is, we can rejoice in their generation of the mind of enlightenment, their proceeding on the path to enlightenment itself, and in their practice of the six perfections, the 4 ways of accumulating disciples. Those are, working for 3 countless great eons to attain that state of enlightenment. All of this, all the great, variety of people and practitioners that we can rejoice in. We should take that opportunity. If we're in a shopping center, for example, looking around at all the great variety of humans there, that they have all attained this fortunate rebirth, therefore we can rejoice in their virtue and that, see it as something which is a great opportunity for us to kind of stay in that state of mind all the time and be very, very aware of not wasting any opportunity in this precious life. And so this is a very, very important in particular to identify those with whom we don't have a good connection. It's easy to rejoice in those who we are friendly with, our parents, friends, etc., and even those who are neutral to us. But really trying to rejoice in those in who we are not friendly with, who we are definitely at odds with. This is most important, that we rejoice in their virtue, the fact that they have too attained this fortunate rebirth, this human rebirth. And so we have reason to be able to rejoice in them. And we should do so because it is difficult. And that's because doing that which is difficult, virtue that is difficult, is going to be very powerful virtue for us. And so it's kind of very, very important. Not only does being able to rejoice in these people, it is a virtue, but also it starts to reduce our instances of, say, automatic anger or jealousy or envy towards these people. And ultimately be able to kind of eradicate those negative qualities. So it has a kind of a double positive effect of our being able to really genuinely and as sincerely as possible rejoice in those so-called enemies.
或者大概那些个这个告诉的这个民族给他这个本来说是不过来别这个大多亚国节，大概的这个期待西北拉说吧对吧啦，大多亚国节、罗马节、偏多节，他，Hello。
Hello again.
편도 지에다 다 되게 되게 저로 받아 편도 제 되게 되게 다 되죠 되게 아니 지금 기대 시민의 야구 지금도서 재수 일하지 다는 지금 속바다 되게야 지금 내바다 냠다다 되게 다중 지에다 나 소바 줘라 재수 일하지에서 칸데도 아 되게 그거를 안 재수 일하지 가고 거미에 어떻게 되게 쟤는 다 가져 지금 가서 간에 이내 다 재수 일하지에서 다 지금 좀 망보내 열받아 가만히 내 유에 되게 도와 다 되게 아니 좀 망보내 좀제 망보내 삼로탄에 아니 되게 유에 차네 담로 삼로탄에 재수이나 지야 고가 망보도와 왔다 되게 돼 아니 지금 고가 심도 왔지 고가 심도 와이나 라게 재수이나 있잖아 아니 라를 개와 다 지금 말아서 가서 다 같이 지금 가서다 디기 유튜브 보고 요도 아니 되게 디기 교차대도 와 되게 교차되도 와. 다 컨트롤다 시에당다 차도 되게 돼. 말해서 믿음의 동을 교차되도 와. 또 다 제수이랑 제와들은 제수이랑 제사 유들라 나게다 차도 되는 가하고도 와. 나게다 차도게 아니 가서 다 가서 꼭 가하고도 와. 아니 들라 때는 다 간제제 아니 지가서다 다 라게 가서다 겨워주게 아니 좀 보지 되는 뒤용고도 와. 어디 간가 지가서다 캡상 근에 있는 렌투가 제티 两周节的给出不来多，我的是我的这，过去的卡巴周吧，呢卡巴700呢，顾客的约不来多，顾客的约不来多，但顾客的心多不见了，这把的写信个书呢，过去的结束了，结多不见了。
So for those who are caring for children, caring for pets like a dog or a cat or any other kind of pet, any the help and benefit that they bring to them, that is something worth rejoicing into. This is virtuous conduct. And so again, we have more opportunity to be able to rejoice in that kind of positive behavior. And those who are, helping out as part of an organization, and those who are kind to their neighbor. Again, there's kind of so much opportunity there for us to rejoice in. And to understand that rejoicing brings delight to the mind, is not an insignificant point to bring up as well. And so there are so many avenues for us to be able to rejoice that we should really adopt this as a very key practice for ourselves. And that also, this virtue from rejoicing is laying down the causes for our own happiness as well. That shouldn't be mistaken. So, and also as well as doing that, as was discussed here, that it stops in its tracks our tendency towards anger, jealousy, pride, and so on. When we're looking at others and rejoicing in their behavior, these kind of minds don't arise. And therefore, we don't accumulate the karma that comes from these negative mindsets. That's something that we should understand as well. So we can see all the benefits of being able to rejoice and looking at it from so many different angles. That we see that the opportunities for rejoicing are always there, and with applying our mindfulness and awareness, we can really become skillful at seeing these opportunities and slip into that rejoicing practice again.
원도 당 안에 타바 탐제 겸바 안디 주 원도 주 타바 탐제 겸바 가서도 원도 주 다가니신 가서도 타바다 타베 주 다가니신 탐제 겸바다 탐제 겸베 주 다디 가서 그 개치슈디가 들어왔다 개치슈디가 딱 가서 딜레 때문에 아니 나라도 가서 땡기 디기 주베게다 중고 주고 요바자 디체도 다 아니 디 유튜브에 체도 다 디레 딜레 셴베 가라서 지금 가서 딜레 셴베 가라서 뒤준도네 아니 가서도 가라서 미진 나로라 아니 지금 다도제다 편도제 타이야 봐줘라 다 디게 된가래야 지금 가서도 뭐 트베토네 디게 연대 통역거네 제수 일하지 딱까지 딱까지 저 초망고네 다 삼로다네 다 제수 일하는 거 뒤에 내투가 제대로 게 좀 버려도 하고 다다 디게 다 개치슈나게 치슈다 지금 가서 타바다 탐제 주와 땡기 뒤지 주베 제도 다 되게 중고 줘봐 안 딜을 때네 안 규딜 좀 같이 매번 찾아요 할로
동바디 거기분도 게나 암차 거기분도
건다
별라디 약고
건다다 레스 같이 했다 할로 거기도
네 상마디 암차 탄다
거기도
거기도 게나
딱 간제 저 단다 흉내 소예다 가서 단다디 흉내 단다디 가서 뭐도다 뭐도 주 다가니시 타바다 탑에 주 탐색 정보다 탐색 정보 주 스티스에 딱 개치슈도 좋아 개치슈다 딱 뒤면배야 그런 일이 나로래야 레상부 잡아들래 제소이라 잡아이나 아니 되게 그거에 그 개와 줍제기 다 줄어 도티기로 와 어떻게 다 제소이라도 개침부 인다데 디셔 어떻게 다 딜러도 솔랍처부 두투기 맞지
So, as it says in the text here, pointing out that the rejoicing in the causes leading to a higher rebirth, the causes leading to liberation, and the causes leading to the mind of enlightenment and enlightenment itself. These are kind of isolated or pointed out as being the most important virtues to rejoice in, and the most powerful, collection of causes to rejoice in. But apart from that, also to get into the habit of rejoicing, we take every opportunity whenever we see or hear or is manifest a good heart, kind-hearted mind, and even a kind-hearted action. Of course, we take that opportunity to rejoice there also.
다다나 니바 취지 홀로코 구와스 다가제 제수이라 취 홀로코 구와네 자왈레 촌나 군제 산제라 테모차데 소안네 셈제 동에 멘토라 취지 점에 파르도스스
And so the next outline is the exhorting to turn the wheel of Dharma. And this is verse number 5.
Hello?
Yeah, verse number 5. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the lamp of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom.
Yes, Chona kunje sanje la temo chada soa ne semje dunga mintomle cheji chome parto so tawa de trosa so
di tawa
trosa so o de che ta ganja je ta ganja je che so san tomne che ma so wa shu be sa je ta ganja je ta da de kasa de ta ganja je kasa de 지금 다 가져 소화 맞아봐 지나 조다잖아 다 최대 소의 연구요 말이야 다 어게 최시하고 쇼세의 연구요 말다 이내 다 뒤에 시오제 내로 있나다 다 지금 내출로 가와 왔다 되는데 이내 다 남주 조다잖아 다 꾸꾸요도 아니 조상 톱내서 최 미송과 슈베서 다 가져 지금 다지 다 가져 지금 가서다 다 가져 지금 상계배 제바트네 제바트 루아 산제베 제바트네 다간제 롱구 뭘 산게네 안 처마송한테도 쳐는 요구 말이야 다 롱구디 근데 뒤자리제 순간을 팽게 매버 인자 저 자주 삼바다 사토벌 레길멘토 펜토고 그다 다 최송세고 콜 두두고 매버 인자 아니 두고 나바 땡고 요라 다 초부 두고 나바 땡 페온데 아니 고 다들라 아니 지금 최송로지 야슈근지 고유여사리 딱간제 어디서 다들 두고 나봤더니 딱간제 저 산제베 잡았대 다도 마찬가지 두 번에 신전 산제베 잡았대 되네 아니 어디서 산제 톰냐다 잡았더니 최미송와 슈베다 최마송와 슈베 아니 촌 군지에서 산제 라안 졸람 테모자냐 안 소아데바니사 셈제 동의 시신 마리베 메바 member 통보라서 그래서 제배해서 류전콜라 안에 담배 취지 좀 빠도서 선택한 제 지금 소화되네 안데다가 셰기 셰수 삼사제 어디든지
And so this particular category of rejoicing is to exhort the Buddha to turn the wheel of Dharma, and this is in the context of that prior to coming to this world, the Buddha is in the state of an enjoyment body, supreme emanation body, and as such, the supreme emanation body only teaches those who have the higher level bodhisattvas. And so then once they become the supreme emanation body, of which Shakyamuni Buddha is the case, and come to this world, it's case of that they need to be requested to turn the wheel of Dharma. And so in this particular case, that's what we're talking about. So those who have this full enlightenment, they may remain not teaching the Dharma, and then one, kind of exhorted, really, begged to, in all the different directions, to demonstrate the different activities of the path, or the behavior hands. One makes a sincere request. Again, for all those suffering beings who are bewildered and in misery's gloom, as it says there, that they are unable, to kind of like know what to do, and so we are exhorting to please light the flame of Dharma, of the holy Dharma, to kind of show them the way. And you kind of like from that kind of rejoicing in this sense is exhorting in this way. We also have this sense that the Buddhists have acceded to our request, that they will turn the wheel down.
Because now the Rapena Chico Kusum San Getu, that Chugumolas Chugumon the Chegro, Chugumon the Chehondo, Chugudi, the Sanja Nang Panzumento, and Semjang Chegi Yomare, Semjang Chetu Yomar, but that Sanja Nang Panzu long change Madu Yomare. That Semjang La Pantobala and Sukutengu Yorwa, Sukutengo, Sukude, that San Getu, Tapena Pajitek Bashina, Longu Mola San Getu, Obitu, Omitu Longu. That Longula and a church solo just Yangela Matel Swategu Yomare. Casna, church Tepachi by Shison. And quite is a matter with Yangel Matema Sugar. That the cause of two good number 10 Kogura, San Gene, and two good number 10 again, two good number 10 take and the Nabasola, and it Chocomago, Catalan Choco Corachis. And Yangela Madure Chesta, Swata Gugua. But Longuge, because of the Cotune Chosun somebody, and Yangela Mateva Cotune. Because of poor Madame with the Yangele Tigoma, that because of two good number 10 to look, you are quoted.
So, this request in this particular case, this exhortation to turn the wheel of Dharma, is referring to the emanation body of the Buddha. So, within the bodies of the Buddha, we have the form bodies and the wisdom bodies. The wisdom bodies are kind of like only perceived by within the milieu of other enlightened beings, other Buddhas. Then therefore, it's only the form bodies who kind of make a connection with sentient beings in that sense. And within the form bodies, we have the enjoyment body, which kind of abides in the higher realms, is only teaching the Mahayana Dharma and only to high-level bodhisattvas. And so they're kind of like, as it were, then we don't have access to those teachings. And so it's they're left to the emanation body to come down to this world and to disseminate the teachings, all of the teachings of that lead to enlightenment. And so we are required to exhort or request the Buddha to be able to turn the wheel, to give those teachings. And so this is why this is the case. So these categories of exhorting to turn the wheel of Dharma and requesting the Buddhas not to enter into parinirvana, both of these refer to an emanation body.
zawale gyawanyang dashela temochada soane de tongbar mikweching gabatame shubarsul sim.
And so the next verse is the next point is the request not to enter into parinirvana. Verse number 6. With folded hands, I beseech the conquerors who wish to pass away to please remain for countless eons and not to leave the world in darkness.
Ta gyawanyangale daba shevala kasa nimbe temochade asata lani ke temochane soane sa towa deta maribe lomi tongbar mikweching te maribe asa mimba sewe cheto keba dame ba shubas so shaba uche.
And so the conquerors then who request to or have expressed a preference for entering into parinirvana, we then very from our hearts we fold our hands and request them not to do so. That we have all the sentient beings who are abiding in ignorance. They are kind of the minds who are unclear, and we need this ignorance to be dispelled. And so please stay for eons, countless great eons, in order to benefit them.
다 단다디 되게 뭔가 두근 넘버를 더 어떤 롱고이나 그 코마동보다 양을 되게 요마 다 두근 넘버째 되게 아니 그 양을 때문에 잡았던 거 요바 인자 아니 양을 때문에 되게 그것도 다 가지고 공부때 되게 저 양을 맞도 소화된 다 소화되도 아 뒤제 돌아 평고 해봐 인자 아니 뒤제를 평고에나 다 슈그루와 what 되게다 내가 유해서 what 양을 리미트 소화되베 what is it?
And so this again is referring to the enlightened deeds of an emanation body, Buddha. The kind of enjoyment level body is not referred to in this instance, both in terms of the being exhorted to turn the wheel of Dharma or to avoid going into parinirvana. And so in terms of the emanation body as well, that when they are requested not to enter into parinirvana, if they can see that there is any benefit to be brought towards their disciples, they will accede to that request and will not enter parinirvana.
다르와다가 최송고에 다 양을 맞 폐고에다 아니 쇼고에다 아니 최대고에 되게가 아니 말아도 동행게 자와 마리베 인자 마리베 아니 로미 동바 마리베게 아니 가서 디바디 세베체도 마리베 디바디 세베 돈달라 아니 주로지 쓰기도 최대 되다 되자 레다 되데 인도 로다 마리베 님보다 다음에 또베 셔라브로 다음에 또베 셔라다 리베 람네 텔라 바바치 바케스 고고다 리베 람네 텔라 바바치다 주로지스 딱 냠뉴고 때네 리베 람네 텔라 바바치 로다 코에 자와 단지 마리보다 디 님보 다음에 또베 셔라다 땡게치 고고도와 디체도다 그러도와도 고주쳐버려도 고주 빼쳐버려도
So also worth pointing out the kind of this how specific the request is. That we're requesting the Buddha to recognize that we have this, we are kind of this ignorance. We are abiding in this ignorance, that these obscurations are blocking our development, and to please clear away these particular obscurations, and in particular. To teach the antidote to this particular ignorance of being the wisdom realizing emptiness, and that and then kind of that through the path of reason. And so it's kind of got a lot of meaning in this particular request, because of course you're dealing then requesting for that teaching to eradicate the main root cause of cyclic existence.
다른 거는 건가 강내 체 건가 뭐지 깨자고 요래 다들 동에도 기본도 강내도서 아니 단다들 코로나 와이러스 나자도 녀다도 딜레 전에 지금 모두 록다운 되게 가르스나 뭐지 코아바 인자와 다 코아바 차고에 가르스나 단지 머리 배상와도 주바지도 와 Tiro, that dancing Maribe Shawan, the Joal, Tower, the Matugo, but the Cotu and Yota did that or Yonota. Yonota, Yonota. Because Tika dancing Maribe, Kunelan, Lessa, on the key, and it touching a tetuna so much in your ditch. Whereas you mean tie, tetuna so much your ditch.
And so, whatever, problems we perceive that we have, we're, crying out, or complaining about this and that, the sickness I have, the coronavirus, the lockdowns, and so on, all of this stuff, we can see this is just the nature of cyclic existence. So because we're in this vicinity, we are going to be prone to whatever suffering is around. And we have to understand that the main cause of this is this ignorance of grasping at a self-entity. And so we see that there we have this ignorance of not understanding this particular issue, and that while we don't, then our actions are going to be motivated through this this particular ignorance, and that lays down karmas, of course, and those karmas work to keep us within this particular suffering state of cyclic existence, and always again prone to more of the incidental sufferings that we complain of.
And Koya Zawa Yimbati, and Yamu would then what to and Lamdun Nangeta, Toba Yakirwa, Toba Yachi, and Toba Yachi is and Takaja thinking Toba Dita, and Casade Takajachi, Casade Tanyangel Matorici, and Choco Korochis, Sugar the Tirwata.
And so it's really understanding, that the root of all of this suffering is grasping at a self-entity, and recognizing this, and recognizing that there is a solution of this antidote of realizing selflessness or emptiness, and realizing that this particular solution is exclusive to the Buddha and what's inherent in the Buddha's teachings. And so this kind of understanding then why we so earnestly request the Buddha to turn the wheel of Dharma for this reason, and to not enter into parinibbana for that reason as well. We need to understand what this antidote is, and to be able to apply it.
Oh yeah, and didn't
So let's leave it there today.
People join a teach you what did say? Oh yeah. Watch the Rang doing the in the catch the Mazuda the Jesuit, the so the Yamlet Chen Takaji, Chanjuga Sem Kevachela, and Nikaso to Yala to be on a Sosa Chitanchi, Shatakaji, Kaso de Jesuira, that to get the Kaso Takaji, Yangal so at the Choco, that to get you want to get what, but not you. Yala to but Sosa Chitan, the Shin you take your water. And did that Yamdo, and was it you to the social meeting Alola, Jesuira said the catch book as what Jesuira Javina, and the Kawa Lapchibu Sagutu, and the Daniel so the Jes that the Nesu till a Shibalatene, and it continued Jesuira jet to a jet. And how to around the Tawaya Pomega, did those jealousy, those kind of chasati. Did a mix and the Yaguchabatilla. And Chikiawa to what tea Casodata, Denjo, the tea, and Casoda, one to Lutin, but the Jesu Irachi, Ticula Jesu Irachi, and the Casa Corale, Jesu Irachi, that Gawa to what the Jesu Irachi, and how to the daughter that was a Jella was a Sebeka to a ligre, and Rangi, or Sevachi, Yamlela, Pendo, you want to the Jesu Irachetura, and what Maratu Condo that shared down the Macau get shoot to the Chogua. That Subeka Yongre, and it is and the Gachi and quote the Casa the Sachi was Changua. Sachi was shoot at the end. Pajon when I got some little Yanamina, so soon when I tell a big Kawasai and a tell a bit Tipasai Midua, the Casano.
And so that to understand, of course, too, that these particular last few verses of exhorting the Buddha to turn the wheel of Dharma, to not enter into parinirvana, etc. These are part of the 7 limb practices as well, which we should practice in their completion as much as we possibly can. And so, to rejoice in the kind of our understanding of the content as it has been presented here, and to see, try to see as well that it will reduce our jealousy, our tendency to anger, and so on, our frustration. All of this will be helped by our ability to rejoice, and rejoicing in the categories that have been mentioned here, but also in the instance of any kind of virtue that is accumulated, and to kind of make it a habit of ourselves, and to rejoice in our own practice of, say, patience, because it is counteracting our tendency towards anger, is a very beneficial practice, because it sets into us the kind of more conducive habit of applying patience in all sorts of situations, so that in all our interactions with others, to be considering others as so precious for affording us this opportunity for more practice. You will see also that our tendency towards anger towards others, or jealousy, or any other negative attitude towards others is greatly reduced, because we are already seeing our interaction as something very beneficial, because we're applying that practice of rejoicing.
아니 파종원에 거라 삼로 가르다는데 코랑 싱거와 이내 소수원에 아니 간사데 통원들에 간사데 민고들에 소수 섭라 갈랑라 기부주나 티 캡사래 아니 딜레데 딕바사 고고모도 딜레데 개와바시 좀 되는데 캡사라 와.
So it's really a case of being able to skillfully refine our mental response in all situations, so that whenever we meet anybody or see another person, or have any contact with another person, that what they are doing from their side is not something that we need to consider, as much as our automatic sense of rejoicing in just seeing them, hearing their name in every instance, to bring that attitude of rejoicing into our mind, because when it's present there, there's no chance of any negativity or negative state of mind having an opportunity to occupy our mind. So it's kind of a very good kind of like a bolstering practice for us to maintain that virtuous state of mind.
Okay, what is commercial? Ta rangi dela ani kasa tapjela tu soba toba shaja tu ba set up you what to be kusu to you that chikcha what that toba ge ani ji sarab da cherab da jesu surochi sotechi an tagani shenga takaja rangi chiwola takaja nyenjong da jaju ga sabda yang da tawa what de ani samlo tanchene ani nyenjong di sebde ani 가서 뼈마 답자 제라게 저 뼈마 답자 식교소서 아니 돈이 또 메시라 삼았다 최근에 유대도 뭐 두자요 말이야 삼았다네 아니 된대게 아니 가서도 가자 가섬 된지 삼았다네 된대게 아니 동반이 예배 로다가라 아니 님의 기고식 교소 삼사자 되는 심제 담배 사제고 미완이도 마다나 지금 토마치기 삼사 로스 된대게 두바치게 아니 된대게 로디 아니 다외 기고식 교소 삼사체네 아니 빠져자면 너무는 뭐 다게 지워 거래치면서 구조도용 무르서 되는 소대 제발할 때는 담배 가서 니베 가서 쇼 수배 가서 땡주네 산제 고마마도 받을 제 소소 서를 가고
So we bring our minds to the greatly compassionate, skilled, and means Buddha in front of us, and contemplating the qualities of an enlightened being's body, speech, and mind, and that we make a powerful request that he may protect us from life to life to life, and that then we reflect on the 3 higher trainings of renunciation, the mind of enlightenment, and the correct view through contemplating the state of renunciation, how it recognizes, cyclic existence being in the nature of suffering, wanting definite liberation to live from that state of suffering, and just reflecting on that as single pointedly as we can, manifesting as the lotus. The lotus Vajra seat that we place on our crown, and then through recognizing that as I, the one contemplating this, lack any objective existence, going through looking for that state of objective existence and arriving at the point of the mere object of negation, again through single pointed attention to that, it manifests as this sun disk mandala seed, and then the determination for myself to do whatever I can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment to benefit all sentient beings, manifesting as the moon disk mandala. And then we recite the invocation verse thrice. O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure of the Buddha comes to our crown. At the end of the second, arrives there and is seated. And at the end of the third, we have the certainty that he remains there until we attain the state of enlightenment.
아니 근데 야라도 봐 멘데다 저 피네 다가자 찾아와도 쇼지서 그저 답변을 자주 치고 서는 야라도 멘데다 저 근데 사실 그 주고서 이런 거 하면 달라가 니야 따야 미스다 멘데다 저 피네 뭐다 어떻게 어떻게 조사치 잡게 뭐다 어떻게 되잖아 저 어떻게 되는 문에는 가서 같이 또 주고네 시에서 사서 어떻게 제 아니 근데 랑이 때 빼마 답자치라 다 년중 삼로다 빼마 답자치라 아니 디때도 다가자 저 돈이 고아도 또 삼로다네 가자 가섬다 삼로다네 아니 되네 다가자 디 돈이 삼로다죠 되게 로다가랑 아니 내가 가서 때 집에 김과실 교수 삼사자 딸리네 진짜 심지어 타고 산재 고마마도 요니도 토마치 삼사로죠 파켓데 되게 로디 아니 다외 김과실 교수 삼사 빠데 저는 그거 다니가 빼면 가지 좀 고소 투투고로 짜도서 선대체 되는 집어마 저는 여기 남바전 집어마 전 당부 가서 저 니베 가서 수메 가서 때도 좀 산재 고마마도 파도 지에서 소소 소서 가왔고 아니 때네 빼마디 남주 가서 닝데 빼마 답제데 남주 닝네다 되가 도제 가고 상고 제가 이제 가지 안디 탈라 아니 가서데 아니 제 가서데 어떻게잖아 다야도 뭐는 마음을 쓰는 나 숨길 거다 근데 아니 알아봐서 나 디디디디디디 잡아야 게 아니 가서도 숨아데 숨고 근데 얘다마 얘도 다다가 뭐 샤만에서 되게 나데 숨 거라제도 뭐 되게 지 공부시
And so and then we offer the seven limb practice and the mandala practice, and also have the assurance that the Buddha on our crown is very pleased with the sincerity of our practice. But then we again concentrate on our heart level, preparing the lotus sun and moon disk there for the arrival of the Buddha. Again, contemplating through renunciation, bringing forth the lotus mandala seed, and the absence of a truly existent self as the generating that sun disk mandala seed, and the mind of enlightenment, that desire to quickly attain the state of enlightenment to benefit all sentient beings, bringing forth the moon disk mandala seed. And then the invocation verse thrice again, O glorious and precious Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. And then at the end of the first recitation, the figure on our crown moves down through the crown chakra, down through the central channel. At the end of the second, arrives at the pre-prepared seat at our heart. And at the end of the third, we have the assurance that they will remain until we attain the state of enlightenment itself. And then the leaves of the petals of the lotus fold over and enfold the figure. They are sealed at the tips by a 5-pronged Vajra, and they're surrounded by the 3 mantras in a clockwise direction. The name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha, in an anti-clockwise direction, the mantra of Manjushri, and in a clockwise direction, the mantra of dependent origination.
아니 랑게 닝게 유소 라마 샤자스게 네바틸 아니 구송토레 웨세트네 구송토레 웨세토도 웨세드 마토도 랑게 아니 가서다 가서다 집어네 간직 발로 외기 참네 루칸가 데스세 차수 삼사체 레칸가 데스세 차네다 랑게 토마메 발로 사비 루코네 사바 나이코네 사바 이코네 사바 뭐다 소주마 마지막 미산주마 준타마 지송가체 낙선도서 로탈로서 룽아 예수고 아니 지가서도 제베 하나마도 와 있네다 라쟁 하나마도 와 있네다 세티엄 생가마 대ing마 토메마서 디바지고 나니 되어져서 봐 상지 다바 루크가 왜기 차리바 데리리 차수고 봐셔.
And then from the figure of the Buddha within the lotus package, then light rays emanate out, permeating through every cell of our body, from the crown of the head to the soles of our feet, and really purifying all negativities. We feel how, all the negativities we have accumulated since beginning this time, all those negativities that we've accumulated through body, speech, and mind, being the killing, the stealing, the sexual misconduct, the lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and idle gossip, the malicious intent, the covetousness, and the wrong view. All of these negativities, as well as those who are naturally occurring negativities or anything proscribed by the Buddha in vows, etc., all of these negativities, along with their imprints, we feel are completely purified. We're completely clean of all these, and we have this sense of returning to a state of pure, clear life.
아니 지금 소다다 동바다 가와 장주스면 라바다 가와 상하게 담세다 가와 라소베 다가제 녀바 걸리지 싸우여 봐이나 세대면 생가마 디가마 통만 매버서 그저 싸우여 장제다 다가 내신게 나라조가 지금 최주베 개개 아니 지금 류라 나사 셈라 동에 그래 주면 시와 충소 삼사체 다다죠 다가 내신 랑게 류 중식 코 많이 받던데 이번에는 중식 코냐 봐 자롱 틸레 껴 잡았던데 되게 껴 되게 봤세네 아니 지금 어떤 센 아니 가나타자 딱바람시 바시 차도 얘기 어떻게 개발치 차소 다가는 란체제 가사게 단질라서 봐 바자다 저 봐 장치 따바치 근데 누가 개발치 중수 사사 확도도 지가서도 자주가 섬다 돈이 또 샤라 자주가 섬고 싶어 돈이 또 샤라 냠바 샤시베다네 현대 배멜 혼자도 두투에게는 개가리요네 근데 다 시티 차르와 개 근데 주면 봐 장치 다네 봐 뭐다 야고 시우 총수 삼사 어디든지 아니 담에가 나시 경가가 다는 야고 시우 총수 삼사 어디를 공부하셔
And so that, and as well as that we have the all of any possible negativity that we have accumulated in this life, in previous lives, and in lives going back to the beginning of time. All of these negativities are completely purified. Any negativities leading to sickness of the body, problems in the mind, the imbalance in the four elements of the body, or the imbalance within our channels, winds, and drops, that all of these negativities, along with their imprints, are completely and utterly purified. That again, the any negativities that might lead to our creating obstacles to our generating the mind of enlightenment, or wisdom, anything like obscurations of those sort, like the obscurations to omniscience, we say that they then are completely unable to be obscuring, that we clear away those obscurations so that we can achieve these attainments quickly, effortlessly, and spontaneously. And so all of these negativities, and in particular the negativities of our adhering to ordinary appearance in our perceptions, this is completely gone and replaced by pure appearance from here on in.
And so Shindo Lungti Nielingiche, Lama Shajas good intelligent chicken channel, so the Lama Shajas and Kulu Josu, some so Shindo same the Nilencha, Lama Shajas and two the chicken channel, and the social same the Lama Shajas and Tula. Josu, Rangi Lunga Yisum, the Lama Shajas Kusun to Mo Yeme Josu, some such and did the water, they were talking about the Tonism Ishikasu, sons of Homache.
And then through the combination of my own more subtle wind as the substantial cause, acting with the body of the Buddha, acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. Through the combination of my own more subtle mind acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of the Buddha. So I see myself as kind of a body, speech, and mind now indivisible from the body, speech and mind of a Buddha. Again, I rejoice in this, and I from that sense of bliss comes voidness, and I rejoice in non-dual bliss and voidness.
Rang Nesa Netiquette, Neg, Tamjatan, and Nichika, Tabishan to Josu, Sons of Kumbasha.
And the place that I am in also is transformed of all fault, and I rise in a kind of state of full, complete enlightenment.
And the Ran Tomashaja to be Kusuto the Moyeme Jube Tugali, we said part of member, some Jang Tandanya, we said to one, some jet the Dataja, Tomashaja to be Kusuto Moyeme Jusus, near the data, Neg, Tanjatan, and it's a Tabishan to Josu, Sons of Kumbasha.
And then through my own state of enlightenment, of being my body, speech, and mind being indivisible from the body, speech, and mind of enlightened being, I sent out from my own heart center light rays equal in number to all the sentient beings of all the 6 realms of existence. And upon touching those sentient beings, they reach that state of full and complete enlightenment. And their place of being also is cleared of all fault and is established as the abode of an enlightened being. And again, I rejoice in this and being able to accomplish these aims on this very day.
And comes to some Jataja, Sanjay Koba Koba, teach the Sosawa Kajuma, take to go so the shop. You did the matter of Pata Sakumashi, and the Tilla Tenet, Dewake, Dewati, Tombate, Dewate, Detonis when she gets also watch it.
And then recognizing how these 3 realms of existence and the beings therein, the virtue that leads them to that state of enlightenment, and myself as the agent of this virtue, all completely empty of objective existence, merely imputed by thought, and just focusing single-pointedly on that brings forth sets of bliss, which combines with voidness, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And I think this is wonderful. Today is the day of being able to lead all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment. It's something really worth rejoicing in.
And because of that, new to and attended someone young to again, and get that to get some good watch it.
I know I'm operating at the level of thought, of imagination here, but I am determined to make this truly manifest in the future, so that I can rid myself of all obscuring factors and establish all conducive conditions to bringing this about. And this way, I want to quickly make sure this is made manifest, and I dedicate accordingly. You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of compassion, not ended through existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of all the demons without exception. From Kappa, crown, jewel, and sages of Lord Vishnu, most of Bhakta, at your feet, I make requests.
That's why I did not put it. Thank you.